Right. Great to have you here, guys. Appreciate it. Three big beasts of the cinema industry, as I've said before. We'll start with a question in that vein. How healthy is cinema today, would you say?
Not unpopular opinion, but I think it's going great. It's going great for independent cinema. It's going great for kids going to cinema, and the effect we have now in theaters is that we don't have enough movies, but people are really willing to come to the movies, and this I think everywhere. Everything's transforming, but I think cinema has never been more alive than now.
Concur, Tom?
I do. I think cinema is alive and well. And what is not usually talked about is the movies themselves. We get wrapped up in the cumulative number. And, if you dial down to look at what movies are performing and working, really original auteur-driven films like Poor Things, or even, an outlier horror film by the incredible Osgood Perkins, Longlegs.
Maybe I can ask a variation on that to you, David. Unless you want to.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it's hard to conclude that that cinema or movies are as central to the cultural conversation as they have been in the past. Currently, that's not to say the industry isn't healthy or that cinema still isn't important, but it seems like it's the flow and the consistency isn't as steady in the range and diversity of the kind of movies being made. I think we're still suffering from the fallout of years of studio and production around or leaning into IP and into safer bets. And I think cinema has always been a bit of a balance between the familiar and the distinct and unusual because it's such a risky business. But I feel like over the past 10 years, it's harder to get something away at a budget that doesn't have some sense of IP or grounding in it from the studio. So I think that's the challenge, and has I think it runs the risk of making audiences dissuaded. A lot of people, certainly in my generation, say there aren't the same level and diversity of films that there used to be. And I think I don't think that's because the stories aren't there or the talent's there. I think it's been more about the risky nature of the business.
What kind of balance are you seeing? You've set up a production company in the not too distant past. What balance are you seeing between movies that you're thinking of as theatrical, or movies that you're thinking of as smaller screen movies?
Well, it's relatively early days in what I'm doing, and it takes a long time to put these movies together. But I'm kind of leading with story first and filmmaker first. That I think it's going to be great, and then I think that a lot of movies that could go out and be successful theatrically, if they were on a streamer, they'd also generate a big audience there as well. I'm not sure the audience and the viewing group is that much different, but it's obviously a lot harder, as I know from my years as a distributor, to get somebody to go to the cinema now on a Friday night, which you need to do to make a film successful theatrically. So I think it's just the pressure and the stakes have just gotten that much higher to do that en masse at the theatrical.
Nathaniel, you're from one of the great homes of cinema and fertile filmmaking cultures. What's your assessment at the moment of the ecosystem in France?
It proves his resilience because right now the French ecosystem is going well because of French cinema and French movies, and the lack of American movies and blockbusters is being compensated for the last years by French movies and French success. Right now, the market share for French movies is nearly 50%, 45%, and what we see all over the world is that the less these countries are depending on Hollywood movies, the faster they are coming back to their pre-pandemic numbers. So France has proven its efficiency before, and its system and its protective system in a way. And I think right now it's the best territory in the world in regarding the matter of going back to the pre-pandemic numbers and the dynamics you have in production and exhibition.
That 50% number is like amazing. I don't remember it ever being that high, or if it ever was, it was always done by one or two giant movies. Is this year more comprised of a lot of different movies?
It's two big success right now. It's Comte de Monte Cristo and Un Petit Truc en Plus, French comedy. Each of them is over or nearly 10 million admission. And it's always the case. This theatrical numbers and global box office is always linked to 2, 3, 4, 5 movies that are over the 5 million. So we need this big success, but it's also the big diversity and also the big diversity of movies from all around the world, because the market share of movies from all around the world is the highest also in France, because it's between 10 and 15% every year. So it's all this ecosystem and diversity of the ecosystem that makes people come and go again to the movies.
Tom, let me ask you about, well, you're obviously known as the Palme d'Or Whisperer, as you've been described. How hopeful are you for your movies from Cannes this award season? And what do you think their Academy prospects are for movies like Anora and Sacred Fig?
Well, 4 of the last 5 Palme d'Or winners, all Best Picture nominees, all Best Director, all Best Screenplay. 2 of them won Best Screenplay. And one of those, Parasite, was a runner-up Audience Award winner in Toronto, which is the same as Anora. So if you were simply looking at numbers, it looks great. But the movie itself, and seeing it with an audience in Cannes, seeing it with audiences in the US, I mean, it is an extraordinary journey for Sean Baker. It's very well-known independent filmmaker, and his 30-year journey and his love affair with cinema. To make this film with a relatively known young actress, Mikey Madison, and delivers this extraordinary performance. It evokes cinema of the 70s. And it's a truly ensemble adventure comedy, a little bit of a heist. And I think it has big box office prospects, but I also think it's going to be a real big awards player.
Is that the one you think is most likely to connect? Are there others on your slate?
So we also have Seed of the Sacred Fig, which I think will also connect, could also be possibly a multi-tier, multi-category nominee potential winner. But it is the German submission for the international consideration. And, it's, for me personally, one of the most extraordinary cinematic experiences I've been to, seeing it at the Lumiere with this 15-minute standing ovation. Just the process of bringing this film to the world is its own story. Mohammed Rasoulof spent 28 days leaving the country clandestinely. He made the film clandestinely, with threat to be sent back to jail, an 8-year prison sentence. So just a miracle of cinema. And so I think it will really connect with audiences.
And Life of Chuck is for next award season.
Life of Chuck, which won the Audience Award in Toronto, we are going to release it next summer with a nice long tail. Historically, there have not been a lot of films that go into the following year. Crash was one of them. But we believe that in success, this film will be a big contender next year.
David, can you tell us what you're working on right now? What's coming up for you? This interesting time, obviously known as a studio exec for many years. Now you have your own production company. I think I saw you did a deal with Amazon in the UK, didn't you? What's taking up your time? What are you excited about on your slate?
I did the deal with Amazon quite a while ago. I set up the company about a year ago, and I did a deal with Amazon to kind of with the UK group to uh, develop movies in the commercial zone, kind of action thrillers, English language, European based. And we've been developing a busy slate, trying to put those together, and nothing really formal to announce yet. But in terms of what I'm looking to do, again, it's I'm really looking at the filmmakers. A lot of filmmakers I've looked and worked with in the past, and I think to get a view of what I'll be doing in the future, it's kind of easiest for anybody to think about what I've been associated with in the past, really. So it's a lot of the same filmmakers, a lot of the same kind of, I like movies with strong narrative. I like things that both, that are commercial, mainstream, and will play internationally, but usually European focused.
Okay. Good stuff. One last question, quick hit for each of you. Tell me something that you've seen recently that you really connected with, that you were impressed by, but that isn't one of your movies, not something that you've worked on.
Yeah, I'm a lot in Japanese animation right now, discovering also this world. And I must say, all the Makoto Shinkai movies are just blowing my mind away. So Suzume and all these movies are amazing for me.
Great.
I ironically, while we were producing our own musical, The End, by Josh Oppenheimer, starring Tilda Swinton, I came across Better Man by the filmmaker of Greatest Showman, and I absolutely fell in love with that music. It's a very classic musical, but not unlike our own film. They'll be going head to head in December.
Nice.
Um, I recently seen this Kuwaiti film from last year. I don't remember the title of it, but it was fantastic. It was a huge hit box. It was just a crazy kind of Kuwaiti version of like Goodfellas, I would say. Really cool filmmaker. I think it's his first film. And blankly, I can't remember the title.
All right, great. Well, look forward to
Put that on my list.
yeah, maybe potential collaboration for you in future, perhaps. Wonderful. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.